The village of Moncharles always holds a special intrigue for me, standing proudly overlooking Donegal Bay and the Derby Mountains of Sligo. Its hinterland a totally relaxing area where winter and summer walkers can be seen exercising between the wee and big piers. I remember carrying out an interview with long-term resident in Moncharles lady Kathleen Carr some years ago, whose wise words still ring clear in my ears. Kathleen said, "It is essential for any community to note and record the pattern of life in the area." This morning I'm delighted to be in the Moncharles home of Peggy Cleary, accompanied by her long-term friends and neighbours, Kathleen Carr and John Gillespie. Thank you very, very much indeed for coming here this morning, Peggy, and thank you for welcoming us into this house. And of course supplying the tea and biscuits, which are much appreciated.
It's a pleasure, my pleasure.
Peggy, a member of the Meehan family, you've spent most of your life, I'm sure, in Moncharles, and or have you been abroad away for a period?
No, actually, I worked in Ballyshannon for a few years.
Right.
With Pat Britton's solicitor.
Right.
And that was really and I went to school in Navan, County Meath.
Oh, right.
A boarding school there for the simple reason that Sheila Monaghan next door, Sheila was, who got a mercy in her, who's died since, Big Amy's sister, she was a boarder there, and at that time there were no boarding schools or texts or anything, so I went there. But while I was there, I got a pleurisy and I had to come back.
Right.
So I did a commercial course then for a year in Derry.
Right.
In the Northwest Business College, and I stayed with Peter Quinn out in, he had the grey steel stores outside Derry City.
Oh yes.
And my parents thought I'd be safe if I was staying with somebody they knew.
Yes.
And I used to take the bus into Derry every day, and I did a business course there. And then I went to work with Pat Britton, solicitor in Ballyshannon.
Right.
But while I was there again, I got pleurisy or something, and I came back. And while I was here, I remember Mrs. Barry coming and saying to me one day, "Peggy, would you go into Mrs. Hyland in Donegal? She's in a terrible state, she needs a receptionist," and all this kind of thing. And I went into Mrs. Hyland, and I had never seen anything only stout and beer.
Yes.
And whiskey, I never knew there was
Yeah.
such. And I remember somebody coming in one day when I was at reception and asking me for a Pimm's #1. I never heard of such a thing in my life. And the next thing, I went up to the bar and brought it down to them, and my eyes were standing in my head. But anyway, I stayed with Mrs. Hyland, and then Pat Britton begged me to come back to him again.
Right.
He actually paid for me in Doreen's Hotel for a week to
Right,
stay up
yeah,
there
yeah.
to get everything put into order. But which I did, but then I started my own business then, you know.
In
the rest.
Moncharles?
Yeah,
Yes,
the
yes,
shop
yes.
next door.
Yes.
Took over the grocery next door, my parents' place, opened a grocery shop there.
Yeah. What year would that have been?
What
1950s or 54?
Oh, it would have been in the 50s,
Yes.
54 maybe or something.
Yeah,
you
I'm
know.
sure you remember, and John and also Kathleen would remember
Oh.
the Scotch fairs. You remember the
The
Scotch?
buses
Oh
that
my
used to
God.
come to Paddy Meehan's, the
Yeah.
Scotch, the bus arrived with maybe about 40 people.
Yes.
And
Every house kept them.
Yeah, that's
could
right.
keep one at all. Kept
Paddy
them.
Meehan's kept an awful lot of them, and
Aye.
they used to stay out Drumkeena too, didn't they?
They stayed a lot, and they stayed a lot of them down in Furies and
Fury's
Brantford.
lower end.
Right.
But they stayed a lot of them in Moncharles too.
McClinchy's and Paddy Meehan's, and no, I didn't have a guest house at the time. We didn't
Yeah.
keep any of them. But my God, they were a big bush to the town.
And where?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Where would Paddy Meehan's have been now, Peggy?
That's where
Up
Celine
above us
Hegarty
on the
lives.
left hand side.
Where Celine Hegarty lives. There.
Right.
Oh yes. Yes.
I have it there.
Okay. Yes. Okay. We'll get that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the
And
list.
tell me this: there were 3 hotels in Moncharles, I believe, in one stage.
There was.
Well, McIntyre's was the only one at the beginning.
Right.
That's where Marie Harkin has now over at our place.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the only one.
Yeah. Okay.
And do you know that General Sean McEwen spent his honeymoon over there?
Oh,
Yes.
He did.
was he that? I do remember reading about
He
that.
was married.
Do-
Yeah, he was was he President Bunting was there, or was he? He the blacksmith from Ballinolea.
Back-
Blacksmith
Blacksmith
and Ballinolea.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. He was married to a Cooney, he was married to a Blake from Derry Lynn, I think,
Right.
because she would have been an aunt of Dr. Cooney's.
An uncle.
Dr. Cooney's
Yes.
aunt.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mary Cooney's end.
I've read about that honeymoon because
Yeah.
he
Well,
was
that's where he spent it across there.
touring in a Crossley tender.
Aye, that's right.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Crossley tender.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Well, that's where he spent his honeymoon over there in McIntyre's Hotel.
McIntyre's Hotel.
McIntyre's Hotel. And then you had Broadbent's, hadn't they, a hotel down the bottom of the town there? Those two houses years ago, that was
years
Broadbent's
ago.
Hotel.
Yes, yes.
And
The Seamount up the
Okay.
town.
and then, well, I remember Seamount being built.
Yeah.
All right.
I remember them taking it down. It was a thatched house,
That's right.
and I remember them carting away the old stuff from it. There were no other vehicles that time.
And who, John, would have built the Seamount? Who
Ah,
actually?
A
Peggy,
man
who
called
built it?
Charlie Meehan
Charlie Meehan,
from the
Right.
port.
and he was married to
He was a
Cunningham from the
lighthouse keeper.
port.
He was
Oh,
a
it was
lighthouse
Her
keeper.
brothers that built it.
All right, right. Now, McIntyre's Hotel, that was where the first GA, county GA.
That's
That's
right.
right, the plaques on the wall there.
Yes,
You could get a picture of it, Jonathan.
Yeah, yeah,
the plaque, yeah.
yeah.
And that was that too, those three hotels. That was Mount McIntyre's, the Seamount, and then the other
Yeah,
hotel.
Broadbent's down the lower end because where Sally Gallagher lives now, that was all a hotel that we had
And
years
then,
ago.
in later years, what did you call her that had the place where Mary Harley was shot?
McManus's house is
I-
Carberry House.
Carberry
Oh,
House.
that was a guest house.
Aye, a guest house,
And
she
she
had
had
it in
well,
later
that was
years.
way back years ago. And
Yeah.
here it was a grade A registered guest house.
Just when you mentioned Carberry House, John, and something you and I were talking about before we came on camera, the night that Mary Harley was shot in Carberry House, I believe she was a young girl who was home on holidays here in Mount Charles, and the Black and Tans ransacked the town in retaliation for the shooting of RIC Constable Satchwell.
Oh
Am I
my
correct?
God.
Am I correct in
They
saying
were
that?
going to
That's
burn
right.
Mount Charles, weren't they?
Hmm?
They were going to burn
Oh, they
Mount
did, so they
Charles.
did burn out some of them.
Right.
Barney Galler, the tailor,
Yeah.
he was the cripple, that's the man we served our time with.
Right.
He was burned out,
Right.
and all was left was the crucifix over his bed,
All right.
and then somebody carried him out,
Right.
and he had a picture of that himself.
Yeah.
And Jim Dorian was doing a piece to the People's Press one time, and he got a loan of the picture up, and he didn't give it back to him.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
aye. Now, Mary Harley, as to say, she was shot innocent. She was an innocent victim.
Oh, and innocent
Yeah.
victim,
And wasn't she crocheting a one altar?
crocheting an altar cloth.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that, John, the altar cloth, because you say it's,
The altar cloth was given to the chapel,
yeah,
and Father Boyle, when he was here, God rest him, he put it on every Easter on the altar.
right,
But I don't know now whether it's there still or not.
yes.
I don't know, but definitely he put it on every Easter.
Yeah, I was reading a piece about it in an historical book, and it says her face was the most beautiful I had ever looked on.
That's so lovely.
On her arm she was carrying a white bag containing crochet, which she intended to present to the altar for Easter. Poor Mary Boyle was shot while trying to escape from a boarding house in Mount Charles in February 1921. Yes, so that's that story.
You see,
That's what-
I'm, as I say, at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
for the blind. But what you're doing
Yeah,
is really good.
thank
And
you,
I
Kath.
think this year,
Thank you, Kath.
that now, on that book, that was Mount Charles, the local history,
Oh, yes.
ICA.
Yes,
Now, and this is written by Shossie McSivney.
Oh,
He
yes.
introduced it. Now, what you're doing,
yes.
it's a continuation
Yes.
of what they just read
Thank you.
what he wrote.
I will indeed. I think what he's actually written here, Kathleen, is what you've actually told me many years ago. Given the pace of change inherent in contemporary life, it is essential for any local community to note and record the pattern of life in the area. With increased mobility, people enter and leave the locality easier now. Improved transport facilitates people to travel further to work. That's very, very interesting, and thank you very, very much indeed, Kathleen, for that. And I know that you were very much involved with the St. Peter's band in the early day now. Could you tell me the St. Peter's school band, what year, was it 1961, Kathleen, that it was formed, do you know? St. Peter's.
What year was the band?
I've got
Well,
that.
this
See that
year-
little bit of paper now, I'll
Oh,
just
yeah.
show it to you there now. this here now.
Let's see, what I would have written here now
Yeah.
is the story of the Mount Charles Band.
Yeah, we won't go into the whole
And
story,
it'll
we'll
be
just
a
take edit it a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
It started in the classroom,
Yes.
and Peggy Harvey from Trinkeelan,
Yes.
he ended up owning his own place in Limerick
Yes.
and entertaining.
Yes.
But anyway, he had a tin whistle and
Yes.
he could play a tune.
Right.
And he played a tune, and then the others bought in their tin whistle, bought them.
Yes. Yeah.
And well, that's how, well, where the drum come from.
Yes.
The drum was claimed by two people that I produced.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's a say.
No, and one of the one of the drummers was who? Tommy Quinn.
Tommy Quinn.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Tommy Quinn and Peter O'Donnell, who's now in Australia,
Yes.
they fought about the drum.
Right.
And I didn't know until the end. They fought round the shore,
Right.
and Tommy won.
Yes.
And Tommy got the.
Very Tommy.
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 Yes.
That's how they. Honestly, it should listen the whole thing.
Yes.
Not in good
I'm
shape
sorry
at
to
the
hear
moment.
that Tommy Quinn is not well at the moment.
Oh, he's not
And our
well at
first
all.
appearance up at the flat yard in Ballyshannon.
Yes.
Now, there was a fella who used to come to the fair, Duddy Law.
So, you
Yeah,
know,
oh God, yeah, Kathleen. And he followed them. He told me I followed your dad, and they never played one tune from they started until they got to the place. But I said, Duddy, sure they wouldn't have been able.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Something
Yes.
in that book, Paddy, that was the
Oh, yeah,
London.
yeah,
Look it
yeah.
up
Afterwards, yeah.
Not spend too much on it.
I know.
Kieran McMahon.
Like
Thank you.
Kieran
That's
McMahon,
Kathleen's.
he
Yeah.
heard them
Yeah.
on the
The McMahons,
Yes.
their father was a station
That's
master
it.
here.
He
Okay.
had them.
McMahon from Ballyshannon.
Oh,
you know,
great.
the
So they
railway
went up.
station up there.
Yeah. Oh, good.
But anyway, as I say, what I have written there is just the story of it, you
Yes,
know.
that's great. I know that.
Really, as it.
Yeah. No. Thank you very, very much, Kathleen.
And that book there,
Yeah.
it's about 50 years
Oh.
of the history of Mount Charles.
Yes. Yes.
Every one of would be mentioned in some way in
Oh,
that.
from the Green Pond.
Where did that one come
I
from?
wrote that
Did
when
you
I
write
left.
Oh, yeah.
I must have.
That's right.
Yes.
I'm sure
And,
about that sometime.
What you're doing now
Yes. Yes.
is a continuation of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
But you see, we're swinging, as you say, in another direction.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So you're just in time to get them before
Yeah.
we really go off course.
Oh, I hope we
You're
don't
right,
go
John.
off course.
That's right.
Oh my God.
James Clark.
No, the
Yeah.
pantomime, John McHugh, he produced the pantomime.
I
We used
am
to-
and Mrs. Logan.
Mrs. Logan.
Yes.
And we used to practice this.
And Mommy wrote part of it for
That's
us.
right.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Mrs. Gillespie. I was just looking, I looked there and I get that for you, baby.
Okay.
But I remember we used to have a rehearsal and John McHugh would say, well, we'll do that tomorrow night, we'll do
Right.
that tomorrow night, and Sacred Heart. The next night was the night we were producing it.
Yes.
But,
Mommy said we've been made a show.
but it went
Oh, it
great.
went a
I was
bomb.
Cinderella,
All right.
the poor mot who never had a fella. She didn't have no clothes at all, except just by a fluke. Because her sister used up all the coupons in her ration book. I can remember that part. I wouldn't remember what happened yesterday.
Was your sister was involved in that?
No, my sister Patsy was
Patsy?
Prince Charming.
Oh, she was.
Charming.
And Seamus was one of the ugly sisters.
Okay.
I'm an
The
old-
three of us got
Yeah.
married, you know.
Yeah.
The three of him and Oni
There
were
was
the
the
ugly
two ugly
sisters.
sisters.
Oh,
I was King John.
Yeah.
were you? Oh
Yeah.
my
I
God.
opened it singing Without a Song.
Oh yes, that's
And
another
I
year.
remember clothes that we could buy in the White House.
White Horse
Yes,
Inn.
yes.
Oh, it was fantastic. It went for a full week and we had Tony O'Malley
Raleigh came down.
down from the Sunday Independent.
Oh, right.
Mm.
And we got the back page in the Sunday Independent.
Yes.
Imagine, in
Imagine.
those days of Mount Charles.
And was Eamon Monaghan, Eamon from the Capital Show Band, was he in that?
No, he was only a youngster.
He was a
then.
youngster.
Yeah, it's probably
He was in another concert. He was one of the dwarfs.
All right.
That was
Seven
a different
Dwarfs.
concert.
Yeah.
But no, Eamon was down in the audience. The whole children were up at the
Yeah,
front.
because I had a photograph of the audience and no Mrs. Monaghan got immersed who was in it and Mrs. Dowds and Nanny, and I showed
and
a whole lot of the
Yeah.
audience.
And
Now,
our
Mrs.
guest
Taff.
was Mrs. Logan,
Right.
Peggy Keeney,
Yeah.
Sean Murray,
Yeah.
and John McHugh, and Mary Byrne had worked as in Mulherns down from Brentish in America.
Yes.
Now I don't know if she's alive or dead.
She was-
She played the violin.
Did she?
All right.
My God.
And Mrs. Logan trained Anna McAnulty
All right.
up the road with the dumbbells.
Yes.
And she did the dumbbells, the music. She was just out of this
Was she?
world.
That's Dan McNulty's wife,
Dan
Anna.
McNulty's
Anna
wife.
Griffin.
And
Anna
she
Griffin.
often told us that she was to get those dumbbells, but she never got them.
Is that
I wonder
right?
where did they go to?
I don't know where they went.
Gosh.
But she was good.
And was that held in Brogan's?
Brogan-
That was
Hall.
in Brogan's
And
Hall.
Seamus Clarkin and Josie McGarrigle did the lighting.
All right.
Because that's where the audience was amazed.
Yeah.
Was it Nora Byrne or you? You were the what?
I was
Cinderella?
Cinderella.
Well, you were sitting on the stage, do you remember?
Yeah.
And then when they put off a flash
Yeah.
and you went out and Kathleen's Anna was ready with a frock. I think it was Nora Byrne came in your place.
God.
I do you remember that?
No.
The audience never knew, they never knew the difference.
Right. Okay.
When the smoke cleared,
Yeah.
God.
she was sitting there looking at the
Remember
frock.
that. I would
Cinderella.
My God.
She was looking down at the frock.
My God.
All right.
I don't remember that
Aye.
at all.
Oh,
Well,
aye.
Peggy, you told me that your family bought the market hall next door in
Yeah.
1954.
Yeah.
And you converted that into a
A grocery shop.
grocery shop.
First of all, yeah, into a grocery shop. I had it
Yeah.
I had in there. And we had a grocery shop, and then we had a kind of a bar counter on the when you went in the
On the
door
right-hand
opposite
side.
you.
Yes.
And we used to like do minerals and
Yeah.
cups of tea and everything there.
After
And then we
dances.
started doing doing tea and sandwiches after the dances in Brogan Hall.
Oh.
That time the
Place was
crowds were
packed.
huge.
Oh, and where would they come for the tea and sandwiches?
They
Up in-
came from our Dra,
Yeah.
they came from everywhere.
Everywhere.
They came in carloads, and
Uh-huh.
there was no drink that time at all. I said the price of a tea and sandwiches their night was made.
Right.
And they came up there. We made 20 loaves
We're
of
packed.
sandwiches on a Sunday afternoon.
My gosh.
And I remember Bella Harvey from Lough Esk.
Yes. And you,
She-
Bella. Yeah.
her husband was a taxi driver.
Yeah.
He used to drive a load to the dance, and she used to work with us and help to serve the teas. And we served tea and sandwiches with corned beef with brown sauce and that on them, and there was ham. And Sacred
Oh,
Heart of God, as one fellow said, if you put your hand in your pocket, you wouldn't get out the crowds for that big.
And was that? Did you serve them in the hall
We
itself?
no, we
No,
served them in
I'm
our
there
shop
next door.
after the dance.
Oh my
They came
God.
up,
Oh.
and there was a big space, and we had a couple of small tables just.
Yes.
But the rest stood there, and
Yes.
the cup in their hand, and the sandwich, and the, oh sure, my God. And sometimes I would have to maybe drive some of them home afterwards. I don't know, maybe that missed their lift or something
Right.
home.
Right.
I remember going up to Timmy
I'll
Bridge.
tell you about one about Brogan Hall. You would know maybe Paddy Joe Woods.
Joe Woods from.
As he was up in Bantar, Lahi. He's still alive in Dublin.
Not Joe Gorman.
No, he was married to one of the Kellys, Brady O'Neill's sister.
Oh, he's
Oh.
not Woods. He wasn't.
Yeah,
Woods,
not
he
Woods.
was
Joe.
Joe.
Joe. Yeah.
Joe-
Wait a minute,
Joe
I know.
what?
They have a house around St. Ernest there.
Damien.
What
Wait a
Joe
minute, I'll get
Woods,
his name out in a minute. Gorman, is he not? No, he
No,
wasn't Gorman.
no.
Wait a minute, I was trying to know him so well. I remember them, he's married to Mary, he was married to one of them.
Aye.
And we'll think of it now in a minute.
They were going to Valvapay to a dance,
Yeah,
Right.
and there was a lot of snow.
Yeah.
And they turned back and they came down to Brogan's Hall.
yeah.
They met her there and they're married.
My God, save us.
He's still alive, even knows him
Oh,
well.
he's in the
Dublin.
contracting
I
business.
know Joe, but I just can't
Think of
remember
his
his
second
name.
name now.
He has a son living in Donegal town, actually,
Yes,
Damien.
yeah, Damien.
Edwards, Joe.
Edward.
Edward,
Joe Edwards.
Joe Edwards.
Yeah,
Nice
that's-
fella,
that's-
nice fella.
That's right, the sister.
Very
His
nice.
aunt's a lovely singer.
He
Yes.
says he's in his 80s now.
Is he?
And I can remember he was narrow. pardon me, with somebody in our workroom, and I can't remember why.
Right.
But he always asks about us now when he talks to
I
him.
said he was married to Mary Kelly Frost.
Mary Kelly
They
of
have a house
Let the
renting
Barra.
gardens,
They
actually.
have, indeed,
Yeah.
that's right.
They have.
Well, you know, it was said that in Moncharles there were what 2 factories, 10 pubs, to name a few, from Ready Mill Herons, I suppose.
Exactly.
Where in jest, you know, you dare not utter a bad word against a certain political
Oh
party,
my God, I know.
or go across to Georgie Gillespie's,
Yes.
where you may not utter a good word from the same party. So, but the pubs in Moncharles, does any of you know where they were? Or
Oh
what?
God, yeah,
yeah,
sure.
sure,
They
that-
started at the top of the town. You had Joe Keeney, you had
Joe
that was
Quinn.
Joe Quinn's, Tommy
Yeah.
Quinn's father,
Right.
wasn't it?
Joe Quinn,
Yeah.
That was.
and you had Seamount.
He came down then to Seamount.
He came down to Mulroney's.
Mulroney's at the
Right.
corner.
McGlinchey's
McGlinchey's.
beside them.
Yeah, that's demolished now, isn't it?
Yeah,
New
it is,
houses
yeah.
built there.
Yeah.
Tierney's,
Tierney's was for Brian McGorry, was where the petrol pumps used to be there up here where they what do they call it
over,
now?
over from us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tierney's, and you come on down then, Jim Meehan below Rena.
That's
Right.
right.
You had Dorian's on the far side,
Yeah.
Georgie's,
Gillespie's.
ours.
Yeah.
Gillespie's.
Yeah.
Gillespie's,
pubs.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually there was a license in this premises too when we bought it.
Right. Okay.
You know.
After Mary died, we sold the license and
Oh,
went
yeah.
to the Pier 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, is that where it went to in
Yeah.
Donegal?
Went to
Town?
Pier 1.
They had to buy two to extinguish one.
The week that we gave the advertising of it to Eddie, and the week Eddie advertised it in the papers for sale, the Cobman brought out that they were going to issue extra licenses.
Now, that's Eddie Gallagher you're talking
Eddie
about?
Gallagher.
Eddie Gallagher.
And
Yeah.
there was 2 or 3 inquiries about it. There was a
Yes.
man in Cork looking for a 7-day license, no blemish of any
Oh.
kind on it.
Yes, that's
And then that reduced it in price.
But you also, John, had a tweed shop over there, hadn't you?
We were at the tailor in
tailoring?
Forest.
Yeah.
We had the tailor in there, and we had Seamus,
Yeah.
and God rest him, we had
Right,
Mickey
poor
McLaughlin,
Yeah.
we had a man from Derry,
Yeah.
and ourselves too.
And I know you're.
And then in later years, when
Yeah.
when everything started to come off the peg, we opened the tweed shop.
Yes. And your brother Oni was involved.
He was mostly in it all the time.
I know Oni was very much involved in photography as well, doing
I
all
was
his
a
life.
great man about the photography.
And I'm sorry to hear that he's not well at the moment. now,
He's
but-
not great now.
Yes, oh, but sure.
The years are there.
Well, this is
Paddy,
it.
and that's
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, there are also 2 tennis courts in Moncharles.
Okay.
That's right, behind Peggy here.
This was a derelict building when we bought it.
Right.
And we used to go in that side to, I remember when Maura Dunn and their Hughie Hone, I remember Hughie
Yeah,
Hone. Remember
I
Hughie
do.
Hone?
Yes. Lives in
And
our
their
Kennedy's
shorts
probably-
and their white,
Yeah.
gone up to play tennis up there. And then Ellie McGinty, she was an old lady.
I lived up the road.
She used to sit on a stone up that back,
Yeah.
which remind me to say to you, the famous Rory Gallagher sat on and played the guitar before he became famous.
Oh.
He was a friend, I was a friend of his mother's
Oh, were you?
in Ballyshannon.
Oh.
Mona Roach from the modern bar McCurtain Street, Cork. And Rory was born in Ballyshannon, and I'm drifting away from
No,
this
you're not.
thing now.
It's great to hear
But
that.
anyway, he was in Cork, and one day he was walking along the street and he met this priest, Father Tommy McCormick, who was a Dominican priest in Cork, and they started to talk. And he said, God, you haven't a Cork accent? No, he said, I was born in Donegal. And Father McCormick says, where? And he said, Ballyshannon. He says, God, that's where I come from. So they started to talk, and he said to Father McCormick, he said, I'd love to go back to see where I was born. So Father Tommy was a cousin of Seamus's, and he used to come to us because his sister was Tanny
Yeah,
McCormick.
nice
She was
man.
married to Jervis King.
Right.
And he used to come and he'd visit them, but he'd always stay with us here. So he rang me and he said, would you mind if I took him up? I said, not at all, sure, I knew his mother so well. When I worked for Pat Britton, we were friendly. So Rory came and stayed here, and he sat on that same stone up the back in the tennis court that Ellie McGinty used to sit on when she was giving out the orders about who could play. And he visited, Seamus brought him up and down to Ballyshannon to meet all
And
his
how long
friends.
did he stay with
He stayed
you?
for a week.
Oh, very nice.
God.
And what age would he have been then?
Oh, he
Peggy?
was only in his teens, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember John?
No, I don't remember
You
him.
don't know, because he would have been up and down to
I knew
Ballyshannon,
Father
you know.
McCormick, sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
right, yeah.
Father McCormick, God have mercy, was
Okay.
a Dominican priest.
Oh, right,
and-
right.
and,
That's very, very interesting. Now,
but Ellie McGinty used to sit on this big stone up there, and
Yes.
she used to call the shots.
Step law and order.
Oh, she was very strict. She was very strict.
there was also
Paddy,
a
could I
golf course.
interject you?
Sorry, Kathleen.
Now, Paddy, your interest in the heritage
Yes,
is to keep the past alive,
that's correct.
to recall it,
Yes.
keep it alive,
Yes,
and to make it grow on.
yes,
Now, I'm looking at this age group.
yes.
There's a, after, we'll say, when did I retire? 1990.
Right.
Now, those 20 years, there's a lot of things there that I think if you want to make it live on,
Yes,
you have to get into that.
yes,
And you are the one to do it.
yes. Thank you, Kathleen. Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah.
You see, you have to, as far as I see, it's like choir, anything. If you don't see the youth there, you ask questions.
yes, yes,
Who are you pandering to?
yes, yes. I understand that.
If you're pandering to the elite and you're catering only for those who reach the high standard,
Yes,
what about the ones coming on?
yes. You must pander for. You must
Like
think
I would be
everybody.
inclined to tolerate
Yeah.
the ones who are just making it, they're
Yes.
just getting there.
Yes, yes,
The way, same as I did with the band, there were people out there and they told me it gave them confidence.
Yes.
They
Yes,
didn't
of
know
course it
one
does,
tune.
yeah. Indeed, it
Didn't
did.
know one tune.
Well, John, tell me about Mag Boyle. I often wondered about Mag Boyle. What was he? Was he a soldier? Or
Well, he was a captain during the emergency.
Captain
Okay.
Manitou boy.
Yeah.
Captain Manitou.
I remember the evening he came home from the army
Yeah.
and he had the breeches on him and the whole outfit.
Yes.
And he stood on the summer seat outside the house and he spoke
Yeah.
and they had a torchlight procession for him.
Right.
And they had tar bars, fires going for him.
Right.
And mind one of them was lit outside of our gateway.
Right.
And there were a couple of old boys standing there. What's this they were singing? I forget now what they were singing. One of them was Barney McGrory
Right.
and the other was Muchan out from Frostis.
Right.
And they were singing something like a rebel song.
And did he live in McIntyre's
He
Hotel?
did. She was his aunt.
Oh, she
Cassie
was.
McIntyre.
Okay.
Cassie
Well, let's
Cassie
get back to
Max.
that. The,
Cassie Max,
the
yeah.
ties. Yeah, the ties.
They
Did
were
live-
nieces,
Oh, they were.
weren't
They
they?
were.
They were nieces.
And was they first lived in where John Cunn's living now.
Right.
And they moved up then to where Mrs. Logan lived down the street.
Right.
The last
And
house
then
we
they
were
came
in.
up, Mag took them up here.
Yes. And was there Petey tie there? Was it Petey?
That's
Petey
right,
was
yeah, and
dying.
Colin.
Petey's dead.
I know his wife is still alive. I think. in
His
London.
wife, Mary McCulloch,
She
still
was-
alive.
yeah,
She
she's-
rings us there often.
She's from Castleogary, I think.
She's from,
She was Sweeney,
Oh,
was she?
what
Was
do
she
they call
Sweeney
it?
from
There's,
Frosted
Castleogary, I think it was.
there beside the river,
Yeah.
you know.
They have a son, Jerry
They
Ty.
have a son,
That's
Jerry.
right.
They
He
have
is
four
what a
boys.
house.
4 boys
Four boys and one girl.
and 1 girl. Right.
Lovely girl altogether.
All right. Right.
She's
He
away out
bought,
some
the
part of
house up there,
America. She was terrific
You're
looking.
like myself.
Okay.
You hold, keep to
She
your-
was- used to
The
be
factories,
close,
John. The McHugh's had a factory. huh?
McHugh's had embroidery.
Yes.
Jim Dunleavy had the embroidery.
Right.
Jack Fury, the lower head, had embroidery.
Yeah.
Him and his wife.
Right.
And
And
then- When they got paid for the embroidery, they come into the shop and that's how they survived.
survived.
They bought their groceries then.
It was a weekly book, was it?
It
Then?
was
Yeah,
a
but
weekly
then
thing,
the rags-
well, yeah, so
the
they had
rags and
pass
the
books, as they
embroidery.
called them that time, pass
Yeah.
books, and others paid cash.
Yes.
And they brought in their eggs,
The
and they
eggs.
even brought in butter. I
Butter.
remember them bringing in even the butter.
Oh,
And that was their livelihood. There was no
No
welfare
other way.
state that time.
no.
No
They got
handout.
10 shillings a week of a pension. I
That's
think.
right,
10
Tim.
shillings a week
Yeah.
of an old age pension.
Well, those days are gone now, Peggy. You don't hear of the books now. 'Cause, you know, even when I was a kid growing up, we had a book as well.
A
and
passbook,
Gibson's
yeah,
and-
you know.
Aye, that's right,
Aye,
get a book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Aye, and they were so honest, they were so, like, I remember my mother telling me years ago, she worked before she was married in McCollion's process,
Right.
like old Charlie McCollion, that would be
Right.
Mary Collins' grandfather.
Right.
and she said he gave everyone their, you would know him, he gave everyone their passage to America. You know, he would give them the loan of it.
Right, okay.
And the first thing they did when they went over to America, the first money they earned was sent back to Charlie McCollin.
Oh.
They paid their debts immediately. But in latter years things changed, you know.
Yes. And Charlie McCollin lived in Frosses.
He was Mrs. Coughlin's, Teresa McCollin, the Campbells.
Oh, the
But
Campbells,
they call them
yes.
McCollins.
Oh, right,
They
yes.
had
I
the
know
shop
that,
in
yeah.
the post office in Frosses.
Okay, yes, yes.
And my mother worked as a shop assistant there before she went to America.
Yeah.
You know, and she said he was such a good man and the people were so
Yes.
honourable.
Yes.
Oh,
And that's the first thing
Yes.
they did
Yes.
was pay that back.
All right.
oh,
yeah.
definite.
Yeah. I remember Mrs. Coughlin and Miss Campbell in the post
Teresa
office.
Campbell, Teresa
yeah,
Campbell,
Teresa in the
Teresa McCollin they used to
All
call
right,
it.
okay.
Teresa
indeed.
McCollin, I don't know why they call them McCollians, but
Yeah, but
that's
it-
Irish for Campbell,
is.
is it?
It is.
Yeah.
But they said, John, that there were 30 workers in McHugh's at one stage. Would
There
that be
was.
right? Yeah.
There would have been at one stage.
Yeah.
Did they actually work in McHugh's, did they?
Well, maybe the
Well,
night
them
them
took it
all
home
working,
with
but
them.
there were a good few in McHugh.
Yeah.
But there were more outside working
Oh, they were at
in the
homes.
houses,
In the
Yeah.
houses, they
in the
took the,
homes, you know, and then
All
they would
right,
take,
yes,
then they
yeah.
would take it in.
Yes.
yeah. And they used to meet, I remember.
Mary Clark, the last one died. Mary Clark was on it. Josie McGarrigan's wife was in it. Mary Braston of the lower end was in it.
Yeah.
Nan McGrorty of Durn was in it.
Yes.
That's in later
Nan
years.
McGrorty, yeah.
Nan McGrorty, Nan Rose now.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Horse racing on the beach,
Oh
John.
my God, yeah. Daddy was in that committee, wasn't he?
Only had the last bill of it,
Poster. He's the last
Yeah.
poster.
if you wanted to take a picture of it.
Yeah. When did that cease? Do you know what it would be?
Well, it's on the bill. I can't.
I know.
That used to have, some years had 2 meetings,
Right.
and that had a great committee.
Would that have been at the wee pier now? It
No, right round. They came right round at the wee pier. They started up the straight. You know when you what they call the gap of the Warren,
Yes.
when you go out to the sandy banks.
Yes.
Well, it was nearly opposite that they started,
Okay.
and they went away out round. The first horse that came here, how he came, he came on the rail bus. He came on a wagon.
Right.
He was from Dundalk.
Yeah.
He was McCabbott,
Right.
Vincent McCabbott, a nice fellow. And he had the horse stabled down there in Paul Dollar's yard, and he had another one stabled up in our yard.
Right.
Oh, he won a lot of races for them. Barnestown, they called it.
Okay. Barnestown.
Barnestown. But only had the last bill.
He's the last bill.
My father and Jim McMurgle were the 2 starters.
Right.
Jack Barry was on the committee, Fonzie Cannon,
Yeah.
Jim Meehan, all the men, Barney Carr, Kathleen's father, all them men were all on the committee.
Well, you mentioned the Cannons there. That's interesting now because Dom Cannon went to live in London, didn't he?
He
married.
did.
He married
He
to
was-
one of the Monaghan's, didn't he?
No, that was Fonzie.
Oh, Fonzie.
married.
His wife's still alive, Mairead.
Mairead, yes.
I didn't.
Well, Fonzie had the pub, I think, the Raven in Goldhawk.
That's right, he had.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
died with cancer.
I knew young.
Dom
Yeah.
died certainly over and what do you call it? He was out setting onions, and he fell from one shot into the other over
Oh,
the ridge.
gosh, yes, okay. Peggy has just given me this programme now. It's Cinderella,
What year?
February 1951.
I was thinking it was 51.
And Cinderella was Peggy Meehan, Prince Charming was Patsy Meehan, King John was John Gillespie, Queen Mairead was Mairead Canning, the Minister of State was Sean Monaghan, the Fairy Queen was Nora Byrne, the Ugly Sisters were Owen Gillespie and Seamus Meehan, and the 4 girls from Ireland, Philomena Monaghan, Anna Griffin, Susie Griffin, Celine Meehan. And our gang was Eamon Monaghan, Tony Sarsfield, Liam Sarsfield, Joe Meehan, Tom McBride, Eugene Boyle, Paddy Carr.
That's right.
The court jester was Rose McBride and the Merry Maid Anne Barry. Was that what Jack Barry?
Jack Barry.
Jack
Snow White was Sheila Cunningham. The King's Bodyguard Jacqueline Barry, Anne McBride, May Mulhern, Eileen Kennedy, Ladies in Waiting Eileen Dorian, Anna Carr and Etha Kyle. That's very, very interesting.
No.
Now, you mentioned to me Logan's early on. Now, John, this is not Logan's, but it's Logue's. There was a secondary school.
I
There
know.
was Miss Logue. That's
Up the
right.
street, yeah, a couple of doors
I
up from
tell
it.
you the reason I say that. My uncle Sonny Meehan, I don't know if you remember Sonny.
Ah, sure, knew Sonny well, God rest.
He made a tape of growing up in the 1920s, and he mentions going to school in Mount Charles in the
Aye,
secondary
Logue's
school.
That's right,
Master
Miss
Logue.
Logue. She had a secondary school
Yeah.
up there where Annie Boyles is, where Jimmy Meehan's is now.
Aye.
Where's that now, Peggy?
Just opposite us.
Next door to them.
Oh,
Yeah, they
next
owned
door
those,
to
they
Brian
owned
Rory's.
those two houses.
Okay,
next door to
One of them
Brian
that lived
Rory's.
in first, the other one was a thatched house.
right.
And we remember sitting on a plank
Yeah.
up in that yard the day they were taking the thatched roof off the wee house.
Okay.
And they built the second one.
Right.
The first one, my father drew the stones from Drumkeelan to the horse and cart.
My gosh.
That's where Marita Boyle lives now, Marita Capra.
That was unusual to have disrespect him in charge, but to have a secondary school even when
I
they
know.
didn't have a one Donegal
And
town.
he left then and went to Ballybofey.
They were from Ballybofey,
Oh,
weren't
right.
they, the Logues? Miss Logue, I remember.
She was McClintock,
Was
the wife.
Was she?
Well, it must have been her husband or her father had it before that, because it was
That
Mr.
was Chick Logan, his father.
Yeah.
That had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know they lived in Ballybofey after.
And then they were in Ball. They had the, what do you call it in Ballybofey school?
Oh, the Finn College. The Finn
That's
College,
right,
yeah.
At the Finn College then.
Okay. Yeah, when Charles is such a unique place, as I say before, you had the big houses, you had the big house where Major Lyons lived.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Who would have lived before
That was
him?
the
Mark
was
was
a
Cunningham.
Oh,
The
Marcus.
landlord, yeah.
No, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's one of them now that's down in Meath.
That's had the air of
Lord Henry Mount
Henry Mount
Charles,
Aye.
yeah.
Yes, and then you've had where Lynn Temple lives now in Salt Hill House. I know that John
Yeah, the
McCafferty.
McCaffertys lived there.
John
yeah.
McCafferty had great ties
There
with
was one of the
Paddy.
landlords,
with
it was the
Rory
landlord that lived in it first.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think one of the Johnsons may have lived in it once.
Yeah,
That's right.
your man who was married to Bella.
Married to Bella
Meehan, she was
Meehan
at
up in the
post
post
office.
office. He
That's
was
right.
in Johnson.
And it
He owned it at one time.
wasn't that the same connections as Ethna? Well, Anna
Ethna,
Johnson.
yeah.
Carver,
That's the
yeah,
Carver.
yeah.
That was the same family, was
The
it?
same
Yeah,
crowd,
Johnson's,
people aye.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
So that where McGrory's house up there is,
And
that's
the mount,
where
the bungalow.
that was owned by the
That was
McManus
Carberry.
family.
Ethna Carberry's
That
house.
was Paddy McManus' son Cormac that built it, the
Oh,
bungalow.
right,
I remember when it was getting, the foundation was being dug out,
right,
there was a big tree there.
yes.
And Kathleen Griffin and them were reared in a wee house as you go in the gate and out to the bungalow. And Kathleen
That's right,
up
I remember
that's,
Mrs. Griffin used to look at her,
top of the
Mrs.
top of
Harkin
the
used to
town.
watch us as kids.
Yeah,
well, they were Harkins at that time
Yeah.
before they were married.
all right.
And then a swing up there, and we used to go up and swing with them. Then the big, I remember well the day the big tree was cut down
All
and
right.
they dug the foundation.
Okay.
There's somebody in Doreen over there that built it.
There's a wee bit of history, Seamus McManus there that I discovered.
I've just been handed a letter, Peg by Peggy here. It's from, I'm sure, the Seamus McManus, the very famous author in the 1940s and 50s actually. And it's a letter. It's from the Brown Suburban Hotel, Louisville, Kentucky, November the 3rd. It doesn't give me a date, Peggy, but it's
There will
November
be 57.
50s, 19. Dear Peggy, I have been travelling for many weeks over many states and was delayed hearing of your marriage, and I am sure it is never too late to facilitate with you and congratulate the lucky man who got you, and to wish you both many years of happiness filled with God's best blessings. You can assure your husband from me that he has got the flower of Mount Charles. Rarely did our pretty village produce a finer, better or sweeter girl. God bless you both now and forever. Your old friend Seamus. That's from Seamus McManus, who was he was married to Ethna Carberry.
That's right.
Ethna was a very famous poet. They lived in Donegal town around the Revlin area,
That's right.
and Ethna died giving birth to her
First
a child in April, I think it was 1912. Yes, that's very nice, Peggy.
I discovered that
Yes.
today. He was a charmer.
Indeed, the McManuses played a very big role in Mount Charles, both Seamus and Patrick,
They did.
during the early years of the foundation of the state here.
Paddy and the wife, two coffins, came to the station on the one night.
Yes, Yes.
The tide was some
They went away, they picked up.
They had 3 sons who went to school in
Carr
Paris.
McNeil and
Yeah.
Carr McNeil and
Paddy.
was it the son?
Carl McManus, no, McManus.
Yeah.
Carmick was the last there.
He died the last year.
Died.
Yeah.
They owned down at
Rossi
Rossi Longan House
That's
in
right,
Donegal
Rossi
Town.
Longan.
And they went to visit their 3 sons at school. It's the year of the
That's
big
right.
flu, I think, 19.
Yeah, they got both of them.
Got the flu.
And they died.
The
Yeah.
2 coffins came
Yeah.
to the
Yes.
the one night.
Seamus used to come home every summer, you see,
Yes.
and he used to bring a wee present to every one of the kids.
Yes.
all of us
Everyone got
children.
a present.
Everyone got a present.
Yes.
And then he used to take us out. We'd all, as I said, there might be 15 of us. There was no hood in the car, and we'd be in the car. There was no
board.
health and safety that time. And we did take us for drives and
And we had all flags.
Yes.
flags. Oh my God!
He was very famous for his
Was it
stories
Seamus?
around the
Seamus
pump, wasn't
McMahon.
he?
That's
The old green pump.
Yeah.
Seamus
Yeah.
was invited. He was invited to address the teachers
Yes.
in the INTO,
Yes.
and he invited me up
Yeah.
and Mrs. Charlie to decide what he should wear.
Yes.
Now, so she decided. As a poet, he would go in velvet.
Yes.
For the teacher, he would have tweed trousers
Yeah.
on a travel, and he would have an orange jumper. And what do you say? After he got me up 10 times to teach him a few sentences to address them,
Yes.
in Irish, of course. And he ended up saying, "A cards again." Now, for those who don't understand Irish, I'll continue in English.
Secretary for all that hassle.
Well,
That's Seamus
we'll have to move on now.
There's a wee bit about Seamus McManus'
Yes.
history there.
He's
Just come
ever
across it today.
Yes, that's okay.
Huh? Did
Yeah.
you see it down the side there?
I see it the
think
side.
I just
I see
only
it.
glanced. I
There's a
only found
photograph.
that
I'm sure we
there.
can get a
And
photograph.
an
of-
old file I was looking at there
I'm
today.
sure we can get a photograph of Seamus actually. I don't know if we can use that.
Well, I don't know. You'll keep that safe for me.
Oh God, I will surely. I'll
Yeah.
talk to you now in a second. Yeah. So John, that's great to talk to you and you know to Peggy and to Kathleen indeed. And that's I think we're just stuck for time now. Thank you very very much indeed. And you know I'll have to say, you know, before I finish up now, I feel obliged, and it's only right, I must mention Peggy's husband, late husband Seamus, a very dedicated person who tirelessly worked county-wide to provide proper care and awareness for those who are mentally challenged, and indeed the Cleary Centre, if I'm correct in saying this, Peggy, in Donegal Town, is named after. So thank you very very much indeed, and thank you for inviting us to your beautiful home, and to Kathleen, Carr, and to John. Thank you, and my best regards to Tony.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paddy.
I just dropped in to see you all. I'd only stay a while. I want to hear how you're getting on. I want to see you smile.